To start off, I'd like to call on Nancy Kelly to do the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Elaine. We invite everyone present to acknowledge the unceded ancestral lands of the 12 current bands of the Kumeyaay people, which provide San Diego 350 and many of our members the opportunity to live and work. This land carries the footsteps of millennia of traditional Kumeyaay who have lived in the region from the Pacific Ocean to the Colorado River, south to Ensenada, and north to the Warner Springs Valley. They are a people whose traditional life ways intertwine with a worldview of earth and sky in a community of living beings. This land is part of a relationship that has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced the Kumeyaay people to the present day. It is part of a worldview founded in the harmony of the cycles of the sky and balance in the forces of life, which provide for harmony within our bodies, as well as the world around us. We acknowledge the Kumeyaay land and the traditions of the Kumeyaay people. Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide. Meetings with your elected officials. So this is a picture of a Zoom meeting we had with Shirley Weber when she was an assembly member. Of course, ideally, we'll get back to having meetings in person with elected officials. Next slide, please. Think through your strategy. Before you decide to request a meeting, think about why you're doing it. Is it to educate the elected official? Is it to thank them for past actions? Is it to lobby for specific actions? Is it to develop an ongoing relationship with the elected official, or a combination of reasons? And we at San Diego 350 try to incorporate all these elements into our meetings with elected officials. Next slide, please. Email the scheduler. Call the district office and ask for the contact information for the scheduler. Send an email to the scheduler with a brief statement about San Diego 350, the purpose for the meeting, when you would like to meet, about how many will be attending, your contact information, and a link to our website. Next slide, please. Follow up your email. Call the scheduler again 2 or 3 days later if you haven't heard back. Ask if your email was received and what the status of your request is. Keep checking until you get an appointment. And by that we mean check every 2 or 3 days, ask if your email was received and what the status is. It's sometimes a very long process. Be courteous and persistent, and don't give up. Next slide, please. Prepare for the meeting. Confirm with the scheduler how much time you will have. Select people to attend the meeting. Try to include a constituent, and have a meeting or conference call to plan your agenda. Prepare and print handouts, 2 sets, one for the 350 members and one for the elected official, including one with your specific requests. Anticipate and be prepared to address questions and concerns. Confirm the meeting a few days prior. Next slide, please. Who will do what? Decide on a role for each person attending the meeting. Who will be the meeting coordinator? Who will be the timekeeper? Who will be the note taker? Who will be responsible for each section of the agenda? Make sure people are comfortable with their roles and that they get the information and support they need to be successful. Next slide, please. Did we skip one?
Oh, sorry.
Create a short agenda. This will be for the elected official and their staffer. Here's what a short agenda can look like. Introductions, that's the individual and staff introductions, individual 350 members and staff introductions. And also please introduce San Diego 350, its mission and activities. Then you could have thank yous. We usually try to thank the elected official, primarily if they've voted for bills that we've been prioritizing in the past. Then there are discussion topics and requests about the priority bills that we're pushing right now, and a wrap-up, a summary of requests, follow-up procedures, and a photo. Next slide, please. Create a long agenda. A longer agenda will have more details and notes for the San Diego 350 attendees to prepare for and use at the meetings. Include helpful details for each section. Who will cover each section? How much time will they be allotted? What are the key talking points? And additional notes. So the long agenda is only for the 350 people who will be at the meeting. The short agenda is for the elected official and their staffer. Next slide, please. Do's. Prepare, know your talking points, know about your elected official, have handouts available for the elected official and the staffer. And at the end of each meeting, we give before the meeting starts, we give the elected official the short agenda. After the meeting is over, we give the elected official our short talking points about each bill and some information about San Diego 350. And bring your business card if you have one, pertains to meetings in person. I don't think it works on Zoom. Dress appropriately for the meeting. Treat elected officials and staffers with respect and work to develop a relationship with them. Keep discussion brief and on point. Next slide, please. Don't be dismissive of staff members. If you can't meet with the elected official, meeting with staff is great too. They may know more about the issue than the elected official. And this is true because the staff is the group that does research about all the bills and really looks into them, where the elected official probably doesn't have time to go in depth on everything. Don't argue or get angry. Stay calm and show the issue's value and broad-based support, even if the elected official is opposed to or uneducated about it. Don't interrupt the elected official or their staff. Don't let the elected official or your members ramble. Keep the meeting focused and moving. Next slide, please. Follow up. Email the elected official immediately after the meeting and include a thank you for the meeting, any information you said you would send them. And by that, I mean, sometimes the elected official says, oh, I really don't know about that particular subtopic. And if you say, okay, we can send you some information on that, that's the time to send it. A summary of your requests and when you plan to check back for any action taken. enter all your meeting information in the legislative meeting list that San Diego 350 has. Next slide, please. Okay. Are there any questions about meetings with elected officials? David, do you find anything in the chat? David
So far,
Sullivan.
there hasn't been anything in the chat.
Does anyone have a question that they'd like to ask about the meeting with elected officials? Okay, next slide, please. How a bill becomes a law. So the California legislature has two houses, the Assembly with 80 members and the Senate with 40 members. A bill establishes, repeals, or modifies the state law. It starts as an idea from a citizen, an organization, a lobby, the governor, or a legislator. SB or AB, the House of Origin determines the title. SB for Senate bill or AB for Assembly bill. Next slide, please. The legislative houses. So number one, first there's an idea. And a bill gets a first reading. During the first reading, the bill gets a number, the author is mentioned, the bill gets a title, and it's read on the floor of the House. By law, it cannot be acted upon for 30 days because there's a 30-day requirement for public comment. After 30 days, the bill goes to committee hearings. During the hearings, it's either passed with amendments, or defeated. Number four, then there's a second reading. It's read a second time on the floor of the House, and then it's assigned to a third reading. During the third reading, the bill is analyzed, it's explained by the author, it's discussed among the House members, and then there's a roll call vote on the floor of the House. So if the bill passes, number six, it proceeds to the other House and steps 1 through 5 are repeated. If it's amended in the second House, it must return to the House of Origin and be voted on again. So we're at the point in the legislative session where we've gone through steps 1 through 5. All the bills are finished in their first House. They're either still viable or they've been defeated. And those bills that are still in action are now in the other House. Next slide, please. After the bill goes through both houses and is passed, it goes to the governor. And the governor has 3 options. You can sign the bill into law. You can allow the bill to become a law without signature. If it's not signed or vetoed in 12 days, it automatically becomes a law. Or 3, he can veto the bill. But a 2/3 vote in both houses can override a veto. Next slide, please. And here's a colorful picture which describes the process that I've just described in words. The yellow tiles show a bill's journey through the first House. The bill is introduced, goes to committee hearings, and has the floor action. If it's passed, it goes to the second House with the blue tiles, where it has committee hearings and a floor action again. If it passes the second blue House, Without amendments, it goes straight to the governor. But if it passes with amendments in the blue house, then it goes back to the yellow house. It goes back to the first house of origin and has to be voted on again. So if it passes the first house, it goes to the governor at that point. And then the last green tile says, if not voted, most bills become law by January 1st of the next year. Next slide. Thank you. San Diego County legislators. We have 11 county legislators in San Diego County, 7 assembly members, and 4 senators. The current assembly members are Randy Vopel, Marie Waldron, Tasha Warner Horvath, Brian Mainshine, Chris Ward, Dr. Akilah Weber, and Lorena Gonzalez. Our 4 senators are Patricia Bates, Brian Jones, Tony Atkins, and Ben Hueso. And at the bottom of this slide, you'll see a little designation, which if you click on it, you can find out who your legislator is and what the contact information for that person is. We're particularly interested in people knowing this because if you sign up to go to a meeting, the best meeting for you to go to is the meeting of your particular legislator, because the legislators are very anxious to meet the people that are going to vote for them. So if you're a constituent and join a committee to see a legislator, that's something the legislators will be interested in. Next slide, please. Any questions on how a bill becomes a law, David?
Yeah, so we have a couple excellent questions from Catherine Harrison. The first one is who actually writes the text of a bill?
Anyone have an answer to that? I think it's a process.
Right.
Yeah, well, you know, on each bill, if you look up the information on a particular bill, there will be a designated author. And sometimes there's also a co-author. So frequently there's the person, the legislator's staff may actually write the bill, but the legislator that's actually listed as an author or the co-author, they're responsible for writing the bill.
But certainly there are also instances where outside entities work on forming, the bill itself and sends it to the legislator and their staff. So outside entities like orgs and stuff like that do often participate in how a bill comes around.
The reason I ask that is because the bills sometimes are complex and there's a lot of legal sounding language. And I'm just wondering, do the senators and assembly members actually have the ability to write those kinds of very precisely worded things, or do they hire people that help them with it?
Well, I think for the ones that are more technically legal, because some of the bills are fairly easy to read and other gets a little into the weeds. I'm sure they either have staff in-house or they farm out the work, or like maybe another organization who's participating in that bill has legal staff.
And
But
remember,
I'm sure.
and remember, before you see the bill, it might have undergone amendments that are a result of other legislators disagreeing with parts of the bill, and that entails rewriting it. And so it's a very complex process. And I wouldn't say there's one person that writes
Right.
the bill.
Yeah, and also when they go to committee, there are staff on the committees who will look at the text and make sure it meets certain criteria. So as Elaine said, it can be really complex and it can be different for each bill. I'm sorry, Anne, I might have interrupted you.
I was just gonna say, I just Googled it. And when the idea comes from the member of legislature, but then it goes to the legislative council office where it's drafted into the actual bill. So that office will write it for them.
Okay, and
Good
Catherine
thinking,
had,
Anne.
yeah, and Catherine had some other great questions. Another one was, what is a roll call vote?
You mean when they,
In other words, when they vote on the bill, it's called a roll call vote. What do those words mean? Roll call vote.
they call each legislator in that, either all assemblymen if they're in the assembly, or all the senators, they call them by name and you have to say yes or no.
And they have to be physically present. Is that correct?
No,
I don't know.
there can be some, you'll see NP when you look at the legislative, when you go to the site, you'll see NP for not present.
Right, and there are, especially in bills where the legislators are under constraints to vote for something and they don't want to, they're gonna not be present somehow, so that they don't have to take that stand.
They have to be present, I believe, in order to vote.
Right.
Right, but if they don't want, one way to not vote on something rather than voting no is just not to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same way that it works in Congress, where when they do a roll call, it means individual by individual rather than unanimous or, other types of vote. So the roll call does imply individual responses.
Well, one thing about the state legislation is if you look, I don't know if we're going to mention sort of the legislative information site that the state runs. You can easily find out how every single legislator voted on the issue that you're interested in. So that information is there. I think that a roll call vote is probably more common in Congress than it is in the state legislature. Because I think there are few enough people in our legislature. So like I said, you can find out easily how everybody voted without a roll call.
Okay.
David?
Yeah, and so Catherine has another question, and we have one more question after that. And that question was, why would a governor not sign a bill that they don't veto necessarily, which was in that process of, it relates to the process of or the final step of a bill becoming a law or dying. And I think that I might have an answer to that one. I think that it's kind of similar to the pocket veto that a president has, although in this case, instead of vetoing it, it just becomes a law. I think that the reason that a governor would do that would to be kind of not be held responsible for bringing turning that bill into a law, while still allowing it to pass. So if they don't want to, I suspect that they would do that if they don't want to get criticism for maybe supporting that bill, but they still don't want to get criticism for, I guess, vetoing it either. So I guess in that case, they're acting to be passive.
I think that's right.
And then we have another question. We have another question from Pamela. So do all these rules and this process of a bill becoming a law, do they apply just to the California state government or a California legislator, or do they apply to all states?
This is just for California. I'm not sure how it works in other states.
And I think that is all of the questions that we have for this section in the chat.
Okay.
Does anyone
thank
else
you.
have any other questions that they want to ask right now?
Okay, can we have the next slide, please? So now we're going to talk about our priority bills. California Climate Senate bills for 2021. And as I just mentioned, all the Senate bills, all the bills that started in the Senate are now in the Assembly. So these Senate bills that I'm going to list are bills that we're going to talk to the Assembly members about, because they're the ones that are going to vote on these bills in the coming month or two. So our priority Senate bills are Senate Bill 99, Senate Bill 47, Senate Bill 1, and Senate Bill 83. Next slide, please. Senate Bill 99. Go on, Rita.
Senate Bill 99 is titled the Community Energy Resilience Act, and it was introduced by Senator Bill Dodd. It's to develop a grant program for local governments to develop community energy resilience plans, ensure that diversity of perspectives and input is incorporated into the plan. It's also a proposed plan that shall include an analysis of multiple project options for each location, including distribution, segmentation, and microgrids. Also, it identifies and coordinates with appropriate local government to hire a resilient manager to manage the plan development process and the implementation of any specific projects identified in the plan. In order to mitigate against having utility equipment ignite fires, the state's 3 electric investor-owned utilities have proactively shut off power on circuits that could pose risks during high wind events. As utilities have increasingly utilized proactive power shutoffs as a tool to prevent igniting a wildfire, many communities have been left scrambling to help back up power for their residents and critical facilities. Additionally, wildfires themselves have damaged electric infrastructure and caused extended loss of power. With the increasing risks of natural disasters and the utilities' use of proactive power shutoffs, local governments are seeking to better plan for these events. However, in many cases, local governments are seeking funding from the state or federal government to help them prepare for these events or better plan for potential unexpected events. This development of microgrid technologies will improve conditions in communities of concern and improve air quality and provide training and funding for the development of clean energy jobs. Microgrids provide a platform for distributed energy resources development. Examples of distributed energy resources that can be installed include rooftop solar photovoltaic units, wind generating units, battery storage, batteries in electric vehicles used to export power back to the grid, combined heat and power units or tri-generation units that also utilize waste heat to provide cooling. This entails building clean power infrastructure to support sustainable industry. Community microgrids offer a way for neighborhoods, villages, towns, and cities, and counties and tribes to meet their energy needs locally, Some make a community's electricity more reliable and green. Others serve critical facilities like fire, police, and water treatment facilities. And still others are built for remote areas that otherwise lack access to electricity. And are there any questions?
No, we're not taking questions
Oh,
now.
sorry.
Okay. Sorry, Rita. Okay, now we're going to go on to another Senate bill. And David, we're just going to, just the short talking points are fine.
Okay, great. Yeah. So SB 47, to give a teeny bit of context, it does relate to the workings of the Geologic Energy Management Division, which are responsible for cleaning up abandoned oil wells or hazardous oil wells left behind, and the ones that are unattended. So this Senate bill would raise the fiscal ceiling for the operations of that division by tenfold, which would be going from $1 million to $10 million. And that funding is to be drawn not from the general fund, but from the Oil, Gas, and Geothermal Administrative Fund.
Okay. Next slide, please. Sea level rise bills will be talked about by Beth Chow.
Yeah, so these bills actually had a great deal of support from both the legislature and also from environmental groups. The first one, SB 1, Coastal Resources on Sea Level Rise. This requires, as you said, the California Coastal Commission to consider minimizing and mitigating damage from sea level rise in coastal resource planning and management. It coordinates planning with communities that are in the coastal zone. Then it adds $500,000 to the Environmental Justice Small Grants Program to aid disadvantaged communities within that zone in the mitigation efforts. Okay, the second one is SB 83, and this relates to the Infrastructure and Economic Development Bank. And it establishes the Sea Level Rise Revolving Loan Program. It requires the Coastal Conservancy, which is a state agency, to establish criteria and guidelines to identify vulnerable properties prior to January 1st, 2023. And it authorizes local jurisdictions to apply for and be awarded low interest loans to purchase vulnerable properties. And this would be properties that are in the coastal area that would be identified by the jurisdiction to be vulnerable to sea level rise. That's it.
I'm trying to absorb all of this. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, now we're going to discuss the California Climate Assembly bills for 2021. Remember, the Assembly bills have already passed, these particular bills have already passed the Assembly, and they're now in the Senate. So these are the bills that we're going to talk to our senators about, because they'll be in the Senate for now and for the next month or so, and the senators will be voting on these. Our priority bills are AB 117, AB 66, AB 525, and AB 1276. Next slide, please. So AB 117, Pallavi Murthy.
Okay, so this assembly bill focuses on creating incentives for electrical bicycles through the Air Quality Improvement Program by establishing the Clean Vehicle Rebate Project through the Air Quality Improvement Program. And it's supposed to it's trying to encourage alternatives to regular transportation through electrical bicycles.
Okay. Next slide, please. Thank you. AB 66, Heather Hofsche.
Hey, so this is a pretty simple bill. It is directing the Scripps Institute of Oceanography to do a study on seaside cliff stability and collapses, bluff collapses here in San Diego County in order to create an early warning system that could be used statewide, since, you know, our state is like 90% coast. It's going to include both historical data analysis and also real-time measurements, field work, et cetera. And it's got very firm deadlines for the work to be completed and a report submitted to the state by 2025 in order to get this done. This is, you know, pretty simple bill with a lot of support, you know, and, you know, we're really looking forward to it passing.
Okay, thank you. Next slide. AB 525, Marie, Jen?
Hold on, let me get myself back on video. Okay, so AB 525, this is a bill that requires that the Energy Commission, along with other state agencies, develop a strategic plan to come up with at least 10 gigawatts of offshore wind energy off the California coast by 2040, and an interim target of 3 gigawatts installed by 2030. This is in keeping with another bill that has passed, SB 100. It was called the Clean Energy Act of 2018, which requires California developing a portfolio of clean renewable energy. This bill will increase grid resiliency, the demand for well-paid skilled workforce, economic development, and lead to reduced clean energy costs by increasing the supply. This bill is supported by the building trades, environmental orgs, and clean energy providers. Now, what this bill also does is that it requires that environmental impact studies be done to mitigate any effects on our environment by installing these offshore wind farms.
Next slide, please. AB 1276, Ann Sheridan.
Yeah, so this was just one of many bills that came out of a set of bills that were created to reduce plastic and encourage a circular economy. This bill basically restricts businesses from handing out single-use food accessories willy-nilly. They can ask you if you want it, if it's a drive-through, and they can provide like a checkbox for online ordering, asking you if you want these accessories included. It applies to both businesses serving the food and food delivery platforms such as DoorDash and Uber Eats. And there's also exceptions, as you can see on the slide, and they include schools and healthcare facilities, correctional facilities. And that's it.
Okay, next slide, please. So those are the priority bills that we'll be discussing with elected officials. Are there any questions on our bills? David, have you received any?
I haven't received any in the chat, but yeah, if anyone has any questions right now, feel free to put them in the chat or just ask them.
I have a question. I may have missed it because I was sidetracked for a minute, but are these four bills still in the assembly?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The assembly bills are in the Senate.
Oh, they've gone to the Senate.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Senate bills have gone to the assembly.
Right.
All of them. Okay.
All of them, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, I think we're good to move on.
Okay. Next slide, please. So these are the elected officials that we're trying to make appointments with. As you can see, even though we started asking for appointments at the beginning of June, we still don't have appointments with four of the people we're hoping to get appointments from. But we do have 3 appointments that we know about. And the other legislators, we will have appointments with sometime during July.
Yeah.
So if you are interested in coming with us by Zoom to any of these appointments with legislators, please enter your name, your email, and the legislator you'd like to come and meet with in the chat. And that includes people on the legislative committee.
Right.
Please, people on the legislative committee, please volunteer to go to attend some of these meetings and discuss these bills with the legislators. But visitors to this training who are not on the legislative committee, please also join us. The meetings are very interesting, in my opinion.
And just to let you know, you will be provided all the talking points and all the information about the bills. So it is not an onerous task to attend these meetings. And if need be, you don't even have to have a speaking role. You could just be there. Maybe you keep up with the time or take some notes. So so everyone can participate.
Right.
Yeah. I wanted to just make a point here, although I don't yet have a date for Gonzalez. Actually, her scheduler told me that he would be looking at setting up a date the week of July 12th.
So we're gonna keep this slide up here for a minute or two, hoping that everybody sign up.
Well, I'm seeing people sign up for Atkins, which is my team.
Right?
And Elaine, you may want to announce how we're going to say when these are going to be scheduled, because some people might be waiting to see when they're scheduled to sign up for these. So
Well,
we're asking for late
no.
July for a lot of these, so that's why they haven't been scheduled yet.
Yeah, I don't want people to wait until we announce it because we're not, I want anyone who thinks they might be interested to sign up for a meeting now. And we'll get back to them and tell them when the meeting is. And then if they can't go, we perfectly understand that. Then they won't, if they can't go, they won't go. But
And for constituents, it would be really good if they signed up for their assembly member or their senator.
yes.
Yes, Heather has put the link to how to find out who your legislators are in chat. So all you have to do is click on that, put in your address, and well, bam, it'll tell you who your legislators are.
Okay, another minute or so.
And a big thank you for people, signing up in the chat.
Yes, it's terrific.
And Pamela, everyone has an assembly member who is their state legislator and a senator who's their state legislator. So you get one on each side of the House. And it's a very good question.
David, if you see something controversial written in the chat, can you announce it as a potential talking point?
Yeah, I will.
I'm not-
and actually, Yeah, we do have a couple questions that I can go over while we're waiting too. Let me go collect them. Apologies. Actually, we addressed one already, which was the being told at a later date of the to be decided dates. Okay, yeah, actually, I think we've gone over everything.
Okay.
Yeah, David, I was just wondering, is there going to be a place where we can just all look at this later and see who signed up for what?
Yes, I can save the chat, and I can also organize it too. But I can save the chat as just the kind of the unorganized block as well.
Yeah, and we can update the legislative meetings spreadsheet with people who have signed up, or maybe we should maybe that should only be used for people who've confirmed to join the team.
Right.
Yeah,
yeah.
we have to have we will have a way after the meeting is over to let the person in charge of the meeting know who is a potential member who signed up in the chat.
Yeah, but we can also send out, just another spreadsheet of just the legislator's name for, people who after the meeting want to think about who to join. So we can send something after this. We'll send it out within the next couple of days for the registrants so that they can look at what the potential schedules are, who we're meeting with, and sign up that way as well.
Oh, that's nice.
And this probably was already said, but just to reconfirm, as Courtney mentioned, she's willing to join other meetings and just left it open. Yes, if anyone's willing to join more meetings, you don't have to designate, we'll put you in where team members are needed. So if you want to give that message as Courtney did, that's great too.
I think the meeting on July 9th, which is coming up pretty quickly, is a meeting that we potentially could use some members. We have some members, but we could use more members. And Assemblyman Tasha Borner-Horvath is an assemblyman from North County. So particularly if you're in North County and if you're on the coast, which is her district, you might be interested in joining, but anyone would find her an interesting assembly member. We highlighted two of her bills this year as in this training, and she's been very active. And EJ work and climate work also.
One thing I also might add is that if you meet with a senator or an assembly member and they actually have authored one of the bills that we've sponsored and it's gone over to the other house, it's always nice to thank them for sponsoring the bill.
Right. Well, we do have one more slide, but before we go on to the next slide, I want to say we're interested in taking a photo of everyone who's attended the training. So after the next slide, if you could all just stay where you are and we'll take the photo, we'd appreciate that very much. Next slide, please. Can't attend the meeting? You can still help these bills pass. Email your legislator about these bills personally. Call your legislator. Organize friends to email and call their legislators. Email them info and post on social media, etc. Another great way to get the message out about a bill is to write a letter to the editor supporting the bills. And Leanna, who's on this, who is on this training right now, can give you information if you're interested in writing a letter to the editor. So now,
Definitely, if it gets published, you would want to send that to your legislator as well.
okay. And here on the bottom of this slide is another way for you to click and find out who your legislators are, your assembly member and your senator. So now we're ready to take the
Now,
photo.
this is going to sound like
At least I thought we were.
this is going to sound like a silly question, but other people, someone else might have it. You can't click on it now, can we? Or do we have to wait till we get the slides? Like if someone clicked on that on the bottom right now, would they be taken to the site or no?
No.
They have to wait.
I've posted the slides, presentation slides in the chat a few times.
Right.
So anyone can open up that presentation
And then
and click on the links.
get the link. I'm just clarifying that.
I also noticed in
Yeah.
the chat that someone has posted the link, so that's.
Yeah, so you can just click on there to find you.
Great. Thanks.
Maria, are you going to take a photo?
Yes, hold on, let me set up. So now is the time to share your video with us if you're comfortable doing that, so we can get a nice happy picture. Okay, so on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide, Marie.
There is, oh, okay, you want me presenting it? Let me show you. Hold on. This is it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for attending. Hope you learned something.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes. Thank you.
Look forward to those meetings.
Yeah, and good job, Elaine.
Yes. Thank you,
Yes.
Elaine.
Good.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Yeah,
everyone.
great.
Thank you.
Great job.
Bye.
No, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yes.
Elaine, I'm going to save the chat. I can send it to you in
Thank
an email. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Good.
Or yeah, or actually, you can also save it yourself if you'd like. Or sorry, I'm not sure.
No, you can send it to me. That's
That would
good.
be better, yeah.
Yeah, David. let's not put Elaine through more than she's already been through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can send it to me and then I'm going to go through the chat.
Yeah, and Elaine, I'll do up some kind of a sign up thing, you know, either a document or a spreadsheet. So we can send that out to, I mean, I figure, were you planning on sending a message out to registrants? Like a thank you email?
All registrants, no.
Okay, because we can do something like that and send the slides, the sign up sheet for the legislators. What do you think?
I think that'd be a good idea.
Yes.
I think we can talk about it.
Well, do you want me to draft it and send it to you? Because then you can just send it. I can give you the people's names and the text of the email.
You can do whatever you'd like to do, and we'll do it.
I think that's a great idea.
Okie dokie.
Yes.
I just wanted to say hi to everyone
Okay.
really fast. My name is Katie, the new campaign coordinator. So I'm here to support in whatever way you all need. So I'll put my email in the chat. And
Yes,
great
thank you,
presentation, by the way.
So I'll send you the long-term talking points as soon as I get them from everybody, and two of the people I need them from are right here. So I think I know who they are. So
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Well, someone just finished school. That's a good excuse.
That's right. Well, this is fine. Yes, I get in the next couple of days. That's fine.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it right now.
I think I need it from you too, Heather.
Yep.
Okay, any questions from anybody who's still here about how we proceed or how we did? Thank you very much, everybody who participated. I thought it went really well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish there was more discussion about the bills,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I don't know.
And maybe, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Elaine. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I really like the part about 525, where they not only give a goal for 2040, but they give a goal for 2030. And I think that's something that they're really trying to do in legislation, not just give the long-term goal,
Right.
but delineate how we're going to get there. And so the goal for 2030 is very important, I think.
Yeah, because it gives an indication of how likely are we to be successful, right? I mean,
Right.
so I understand there's going to be more work done up front. So the 2030 goals are obviously lower. It's only 3 gigawatts versus the desired 10 gigawatts, but it gives the foundation of that process. You know, so yeah, I think all legislation should include checkpoints, you know, assessments of how are we doing against our goal? How are we progressing?
And I think we're running into trouble on our cap, San Diego City's cap on because this didn't happen. And it's not clear that we're going to reach our goal because, oh, we were doing fine and we were doing so fine. And then when we really calculated it, it's not as fine as it needs to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's something we could look for in coming legislation, those intermediate goals to make sure we're really going to get to where we want to go. Anyway, that's my thing. I like that part of it. Anyone else have any other worries or anything that you're concerned about or anything we need to think about for our meetings?
No, but I noticed Heather, a few people put their names in the chat for Mannheim, so that's good.
Yes.
We obviously need people to do there. I have a freaking like something already scheduled for that time on that date, because otherwise I'd go because I'm a constituent. But
well, I would like to go too. I'm going to have family visiting, so I don't think I'll be able to. But I went to the one last year, I think. Did you go, Heather, to the one last year? Yep. Where they had such a weird position on recycling that it deterred them from supporting something that required recycling. It was hard to get your head around how their thought process, but then he wound up voting for it after all, so that was good.
So maybe we did some good.
Yes,
that's right. Anyway, yeah, I don't know if I'll be able. I don't think I'll be able to go to that one because
I found I think 2 in the chat and I copied them down. But if you see more, then by all means, let me know.
Yeah. And Heather, if no other people sign up, I can try to switch my plans, just cancel my other thing if needed.
I also have Liana and Justin who emailed me directly, so that would be 5 of us, and that's a pretty decent group.
Okay. Well, hey guys, I am late for another meeting.
Okay.
Thanks for all your help, Marie.
Okay. And I mean, really good job, Elaine.
Yes, great.
Yeah, that was excellent.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
my
good.
fourth try. Thank you, thank you.
And I am probably going to host you, David, on my way out so I don't kill the meeting for everyone. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And Anne, I was going to ask you, are you a constituent